Let's get started.
Welcome to the Financial Purpose Podcast. All opinions expressed by me or guests of the podcast are solely our own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Life Moves Wealth Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any investment decisions. Clients of Life Moves Wealth Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. Hey, welcome to the Financial Purpose Podcast. I'm your host, Dale Shafer. This is episode number 82. Thanks so much for joining us today. I want to talk about kind of where we are middle of the year. So we're midway through the second quarter, if you can believe that already. I don't know where time is going, but this year seems to be just flying by. Maybe the whole, like that Steve Miller Band song stuck in my head the past couple of days for some reason, because it's like the past couple of weeks have just been at an accelerated pace, just gone before we know it. And so that's, I don't know, it's what it is. Maybe that's a function of age too, because you definitely hear that, as you get older, even on the longer days, they go super fast. So I want to talk about burnout and how to break the cycle. And the reason I want to talk about burnout is because when you get to about the middle of the year and you start thinking about business and you start looking at your numbers and you start seeing where things are currently sitting with your business and whether you're getting the results you wanted or not, it can kind of feel a little bit tiring because you've just been in a slog. Summer's coming up. We've got a 3-day holiday weekend just a couple weeks away with Memorial Day. And so I think everybody's starting to get a little antsy for a little bit of time off, a little bit of time away, a little bit of a distraction from the business. And burnout among business owners is more common than most people think, especially when things quite aren't going the way that we want them to, or if there's something external that comes up that's unplanned that you really didn't need to have happen in this particular time frame of whatever you're trying to accomplish. And so it doesn't always look like total exhaustion or even as severe as like shutting the doors, but it often shows up as just feeling stuck in the daily grind, always busy, but maybe never really making lasting progress or not being able to see the progress for a long period of time. And so that becomes harder and harder to stay committed to. So I want to talk about that burnout cycle, how to break it. I'm going to give you some tips for that. And we're just going to go kind of get started here. So the hidden cost of doing everything yourself is big, because when you're starting your business, you have to wear all the hats. You're the CEO, you're the salesperson, you're the bookkeeper, you're the customer service person, you're the janitor, you're the service rep, you're the installer, you're doing everything yourself. And that is the hustle of starting the business and trying to get revenue in the door and trying to remain profitable and trying not to, short your working capital, which we talked about a couple of episodes ago. I think, in fact, that was episode 79. You're trying to keep some working capital available so that way you can buy the next material and kind of wait till you get paid and keep jobs going and things like that, or whatever it is that your business is doing or serving. But as the business grows and you start to add more people, taking the same all hands on deck approach, especially as the owner, can become a major liability, because then you are always the one pulled in to urgent tasks all day long. You never get to fully step back, analyze what's happening in the business, because you're always the one who is putting out fires or talking to the customers or acting as a go-between in conflict between maybe a customer and someone serving or working in your business, or maybe two of your employees, or a vendor and an employee, or you and a vendor, whatever. You never really get a chance to step back because you're always in the middle of those things, and weeks and months and even years go by before you start thinking about strategy, growth, or ways to innovate your services or your products or what you're doing. And so you get really tired, but you're not necessarily tired from doing too much. Often you're actually tired from just doing too many of the wrong things. And when you're always working in the business, you can't work on it. And so the more that you're required to put out the fires, and the more that you're required to run the sales calls, and the more that you're required to do the installations, it's going to prevent you from being able to step back and see what's happening in the business and make good tweaks and move people into the right seats on the bus that you've invited them to ride on. You're not able to look at ways to improve cash flow, ways to renegotiate contracts. You're not able to think strategically about your accounts receivable, accounts payable, your inventory structure, maybe your pricing models, maybe whether or not you should bring on a new product, or maybe whether or not you should expand or start networking with a competitor that maybe you can purchase their business from, things like that. All those strategic, real business things are very, very hard to do when you're in the middle of everything. And so that kind of puts you into a reactive decision-making mode. It leaves you unable to think. You're just always responding. And that type of reactive decision-making leads to missed opportunities, because when you're in the middle of putting out a fire, you're going to delay decisions about investing in new products, bringing on new people, the right people. Sometimes you get so busy and the business gets so busy that it seems like the only solution is to bring on more people. And sometimes that's not the solution at all. You may have some inefficiencies in your scope of work, or in your projects, or in the way that you're delivering your services or your goods. Sometimes more people on a given project means more hands, which means more overlap, which means people are tripping over each other, and it's not a good thing. So you want to think about that. You want to, if you're reactive or in the reactive decision-making mode, you don't have time to evaluate where you are financially, measure progress against your financial targets, not only just revenue or profit, but also it could be things like shortening your days to receive past due invoices, or maybe having a strategy to prevent even having past due invoices. Maybe it's things like measuring which of your products are more profitable, which ones should you have more inventory on, or which services should you cut because they're not profitable. They may deliver a lot of revenue, but they deliver zero in profit. And so you want to be able to think about these things. And when you're reactive decision making, you become the bottleneck in every process. Your business depends on you to survive, right? And if you're just surviving, you're not thriving. And when you're required to authorize every discount, or when you're required to hear every phone call, or talk to every customer, or inspect every vehicle that comes in, or whatever it is that you're doing, maybe you need to review every single drawing that your team is sending out for the build design. Maybe you need to see every invoice. Maybe you need to see every contract. If all of those things have to come to your desk, it's going to slow down everybody else from being productive. And the problem is that you're the bottleneck, but you're going to wonder why everybody else can't get their jobs done. And really, you have to look in the mirror. And so without a shift in mindset and without changing that structure, it's going to create a trap. You're going to own a business, but all you've done is really just built yourself a very demanding job that at first seemed like it was going to be high pay, but the more demanding it comes, the less profitable it is for you to continue to do that work. So your business should be a tool to help you build wealth. It should be a wealth building engine. It should not be a soul-sucking trap. And I talk to business owners sometimes, and that's kind of what it feels like when you're running the day-to-day business. And there's a lot to think about as a business owner. You're always having to think about the hours that you're open, the days that you're open, being able to pay your employees correctly. You're having to think about mitigating risk of lawsuits and injury and defamation and lost clients. You're having to think about revenue targets. You're having to deal with your bankers. You're having to think about whether or not you need financing. You're having to make sure that the lights turn on, and you're having to repair things in the wall or the roof, or repave the parking lot, or all sorts of things. As the business owner, heavy is the head who wears that crown, right? And so you have got to get out of the reactive mode and the being the one holding the fire hose, so that way you can stand back and monitor the pressure of what's going through that hose, if that makes sense. So to get out of that burnout loop, Business owners need to intentionally step back and shift into more of a leadership role. And that is easier said than done. Leadership requires not only for you to trust other people to do the work that needs to be done, but you need to get out of your head about the fact that they aren't going to do it the same way that you would, because they won't most of the time. They are their own people. They can follow a process, but there's going to be some tweaks. They're going to put a little bit of flair in there because they're a person and they have thoughts and they have abilities and they have efficiencies that may be different than yours. And they may think about a problem differently than you do. And that is an asset in a lot of cases, not a liability. So you've got to get out of your head about letting people take the reins. You've got to get out of your head about needing to be the one to open and close the door every day to the office. You need to get out of your head about being the one that needs to approve everything. Let your people who you hired them because they're smart and capable, let them be smart and capable and do those things. And so here's a couple ways that you can start to make that shift as a business owner. And if you're a business owner and you haven't made this shift yet, I want to encourage you to do that, because you literally are slowing down your business. You're creating a turnover issue. You're going to have a hard time attracting real talent because nobody's going to want to be micromanaged by the owner of the business, especially people who are capable and professional and able to do what you're asking them to do. So first thing you can do is track key performance indicators, or KPIs. By the way, go back to episode 80. We did a whole episode on how to build your KPI dashboard and what you might want to be looking for as a business owner. So you need KPIs. They're going to show how the business is doing. You're not going to be doing a bunch of guesswork. And the cool thing about KPIs is that, as I said in episode 80, there are different KPIs that are going to fall under different departments in your business, and you can put the heads of those departments in a seat of responsibility for those individual KPIs or for the results of that specific department. And so that takes the pressure off from you to be running everything. You can be managing the business while everybody else underneath you is running those things and being responsible for their individual business units. And you're able to coach them as a leader to get the results that the business needs, help them to understand the vision and why the business needs the things that you're asking for. And that's a function of leadership, being able to get people to see a vision and to go along with the vision, going along with you. The point of being a leader, and this is very important, it's not that you are a boss. You don't go boss people around and you don't order them around. You lead them to their best so they can become their best, so they can perform at a higher level, so the business will be more profitable and will be more successful over time. Which leads to the next part, which is delegate with purpose. Free yourself from tasks and those kinds of responsibilities that don't require your level of expertise. You don't have to be the expert in everything in your business. Chances are you're going to be pretty darn close to the expert in everything in your business, but let other people be experts. Let them take tasks and responsibilities and reporting functions and other work off your plate, so you can be working on more of the business rather than in more of the business. You want to systematize operations so you can reduce the amount of fires that need to be put out all the time. You'll increase consistency in the work. You'll have a good workflow. Everybody will know what they're doing. Everybody will be in the right place at the right times doing the right things. Everybody's going to move forward. And if you need help systematizing operations, there are great operations consultant I know too. In fact, consultants who can help you see your business, see what's going on, find the missing opportunities, the weak links in your process, and they can help you structure a system that works and that gets the results that you need and keeps everybody moving along together, reducing the bottlenecks and the fires and the conflict and all of that. The other thing that's very important is you need to schedule regular time for strategic planning, and it needs to be a non-negotiable part of your calendar. So as the owner, you need to spend time thinking. I think Warren Buffett said it best. And I've been thinking a lot about Warren Buffett lately because he is stepping down as the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. It is the end of an era, probably an end that none of us wanted to see, because Warren Buffett has been a very special and very influential investor for a long, long time. And but Warren Buffett, what he gets paid to do is to read and to think. That's his job as the CEO. Read and think. And as the leader of your business and the owner of your business, your job is to read and think and lead people well. The more that you can think, the more that you have strategic time to work on the business, the better a leader and the more of your leadership potential you're going to continue to develop. It's going to be helpful to the business. You need time to get away. You need to be continually learning how to be a good leader so you can become a great leader. You need to learn how to be a great financial manager so you can help the business manage money and resources well. You need to be thinking about the next strategic move that the business needs to make over a specific period of time. And you need to do regular time with your team. So for some businesses, that can be daily. For some, it's weekly. But anything more than a weekly meeting with your core team is too long. There's too much happening. There's too many days that go by. There's too many conversations that are had. And it's going to be harder for everybody to update. And what's going to happen is you're going to end up with 10 people in a 3-hour meeting because everybody has so much stuff that they're updating. And then as the conversation goes on, somebody's remembering something that they forgot to mention. So you got to come back to them. And then the whole meeting is just an update meeting. You're not actually doing anything that's pushing the business forward. So have regular time. I highly advise you to do it at least once a week. It needs to be non-negotiable with your key players on the team. And those key players need to have regular time with their key players, right? So in any business, you're probably going to have a level of management, maybe a middle layer, and then you're going to have people working under that level of management. Those people need to be meeting with their people often as well, because it's the only way to have everything come up from the bottom. So the field is constantly in touch with the top of the company, and there's continuous and good quality communication from top to bottom. And in fact, if you do it right, it doesn't need to feel like a big, silo, if you will, where there's, whatever's at the bottom never gets to the top, and vice versa. You want to be able to have that be streamlined. Now, in some businesses, it cannot be as flat as the everyday field worker walking into the CEO's office. I get that. In some companies, that's not going to work. But in a lot of small businesses, the better the communication with everybody involved, the better the company's going to go. You've got to schedule regular time for this. It cannot be, and if we have time for it, it needs to be a non-negotiable. And then that comes to building the last thing, building a team around you, including outside advisors like myself. You need a good financial advisor. You need a financial advisor who speaks business. And that's going to be very important for you to find. You need consultants in various areas, marketing, operations, maybe financial, taxes. You need these people around you who can challenge you, but also support you on your business journey and help you get to where you're trying to go. It's very difficult to do it alone. You shouldn't do it alone as a business owner. You need to build a good team of managers around you who can help you run the business and help you grow the business and help you be successful and help you reach your targets and be accountable to each other when things aren't going as well. But you also need outside people who can look into the business non-emotionally as attached as you are, and they can see gaps or they can see opportunities and help you find them. So that's kind of the big thing. This isn't a very long episode on purpose, because, if you find yourself at a point where you're reaching for your cell phone because you just can't you can't even anymore, and you just need a distraction. You need to pop on social media or play your favorite game, whatever that is, or whatever. Maybe you ought to go back, rewind this, and listen again. Maybe you're hitting a burnout. Maybe there's something that's not going the direction that you needed to go. Maybe you're not sure how to solve that, and putting systems in place are going to help you do that. So you've got to get out of the weeds. You've got to learn to lead your business like a boss. And that leads me to the boss method at Life Moves Wealth. You can start, because we can look at this. I can help you identify areas where you're burning out or you have unresolved items that need direction or need help or need an outside opinion. Sometimes you just need somebody to bounce ideas off from that's outside of your business. I serve that role for my business owner clients. I talk about all kinds of things with them. We talk about pricing models. We talk about key employees. We talk about ways that they might be able to go collect on past due invoices, maybe how to write that email. We talk about communication. We talk about, of course, the financials of the business. We talk about ways that they may have to shift their compensation structures. We talk about all of it because that is what business owners need from a financial advisor. You need somebody who understands business, has ran a business, owns a business, speaks business, worries about the same things that you do. And so you can start with a strategy session. It's going to help you map out your next move. You can do this at lifemoveswealth.com/ I believe it's Boss Method now is that page name. And so just go to lifemoveswealth.com and you'll hit the drop down for Boss Method. You'll see it. It's right there on the front page. Start with a strategy session. My mission and our mission as lifemoveswealth.com is to help you run your business like an investor, not just an operator. We want you to grow your wealth, optimize your exit strategy, whatever that looks like, and achieve the financial results that you want for yourself without the burnout and without the emotional mess and stress of trying to navigate alone. So learn more about the Boss Method, the financial planning, what's happening with my mouth and my tongue. We're not saying the words correctly. So learn more about the Boss Method, which is the financial planning approach that we created specifically for business owners. Go to lifemoveswealth.com to find it. So the Boss Method, again, you can go back a couple of episodes and find this. You can also read about it right on the website. It's very simple. But we're going to address the 7 key areas of financial planning on the personal side. But we're going to apply those 7 key areas to the business financials, as well as strategies around things that I just discussed, like working capital, which again, go to episode 79 to learn more about that. I had a great conversation with my friend Abron Villegas about working capital. That's a great primer for understanding how to maximize your cash flow. But we're going to talk about everything I just mentioned: payroll, taxes, pricing models, inventory, expansion, closing out AR, collecting, exit strategies, all the things that are going to build wealth. We're going to do that. So if you're listening to or watching this episode, you and your business will benefit greatly from having a conversation with us. So do that. Do it today. Go to lifemoveswealth.com to explore the Boss Method. You can get started right from the website. You can click on a button on the Boss Method page, and it's going to get you started on your Boss Method journey, which leads to the place we start there is understanding both your personal and your business financials. You can also click a button to shortcut the process a little bit and schedule time to talk with me. You can also just send an email to info@lifemoveswealth.com, and I will send you my calendar so you can pick the best day and time that works for you. So however you want to start the process, get started. Don't wait. Don't wait till you're completely fizzled and totally toasted and way burnt out before you get started. Have a conversation. Start thinking strategically. The Boss Method will help you do that. So that's what I have for you today. So until the next episode, go be a boss. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. To learn more about your financial purpose, visit lifemoveswealth.com.